enormous number of the cadets that are failing, and the hardest portion was the pool dive. It was actually the hardest part. They would actually put them in a pool, take away, only allow them to take a breath out of a tank periodically, and then they would have another one of the people from the Navy SEAL trainers come in and hold them down, fight them, step back, they'd grab some air, and how many of them could stay under the water for the longest period of time? They'd have to do this test, okay? So they hired all these scientists to improve their ability to suppress their fear, okay? These are the 4 techniques they came up with, okay? Self-talk, which isn't that what we talked about yesterday, right? Talking to yourself. The voice, who is the voice inside your head? You are. So why are you letting that voice inside your head say bad things to you, right? So you have to control that voice inside your head, number 1. So self-talk, and that's what I told you guys yesterday. What are you actually saying to yourself? And if it's negative thoughts, you were sharing some stuff with us yesterday, if there's negative thoughts in there, come up with something that's 10 times more powerful, but how many times are you going to say it? You think 1 time is going to do it? If I do 1 rep at the gym, am I going to get a big bicep? No, how many times do I have to do it?
Lots.
A lot. And let's say I get it to a point where it's working well. I got high performance. Am I done? I can stop now because I got a good looking bicep. Everything's good. Show muscle, beach muscle is good. No, I got to keep doing it. If I don't, what happens?
Goes right.
You're gonna lose it. So understand, you got to keep that self-talk going for how long? Forever. Thank you. Visualization. What did I talk about that yesterday? Right? Taking a photograph, putting yourself in it. Visualize yourself performing that. Dr. Jim, you were talking about failing and rejection and how difficult it is. Put yourself in a situation where you're actually in there mentally, visualize it, and succeeding over and over, right? Lindsay, same thing when you guys are doing screenings. Put yourself in a situation where you're actually screening many, many people. Like Buddha taught us, right? What he said, what you think here is what you're going to create. You're going to create your world by your thoughts, right? Okay, rehearsal and practice. What they said was, the biggest challenge that most of us did, is that we would take a scenario, maybe your Monday night, and you take your Monday night in your head, and you try to conquer the Monday night all at once. And that was too much for people to handle. So what you would do is, you would rehearse, practice parts of it. Hey, where am I strongest? Where am I weakest? Maybe sometimes it's better to start where you're weak or where you're strongest first, because the weakest part might be the most difficult. So build up some confidence till you get to that part, to that other challenge. But consistently hit those areas, rehearse it, practice it, and as you do it in little parts, that's how they would get through it. So they would take these guys, Navy SEAL training, and they would take parts of the task, diving underwater, just getting familiar with being low on oxygen and handling the tank. After that, okay, I got that conquered, now I'm going to come in and start beating on you when you're in the water to overcome that. Then I'm going to have you beating on you and try to grab oxygen. I'm going to have you beating on you, and then I'm going to have you grab a weapon and try to fend the other guy off. I mean, that's how they would do the training. It was amazing. Same thing we talked about yesterday, right? And then they talked about breathing control was the last one. That the biggest challenge you have is that your breathing is going to be significantly affected. And the easiest way to calm the amygdala and the effects of the amygdala are the breathing. So you want to actually control, and it obviously comes right with Lamaze training and right fear through the birth process and so forth. But same thing, deep cleansing breaths. That in and of itself would not do it. Each one of those would not do it. But in combination, all 4 of them, they doubled the success rate of the cadets. Doubled it. From 25 to 50% of the cadets were now passing if they followed that protocol. Amazing, right? So, I mean, we can all do it. What was their motivation? Because they spent all this money and time on these guys and these ladies to get up to that point of training, and then they'd fail. All that time and effort was wasted. So those were the borderline people, the borderline, that 25% of the borderline that couldn't get through it. So that's all of us, right? Every single one of us in here, I mean, we still have moments, we still have that voice inside of our head. You guys have to recognize it, take control, and then have some strategies in order to get through it. Take the biggest challenge that you have in your practice and move forward. Okay? I thought that was